Question from Nobody's Perfect 06. In your opinion, why do you think in society men are always expected to be confident ones? I remember watching the video on why women don't approach men. Brian said in society, men are supposed to be the confident ones, but then didn't explain as to why men are expected to be the confident ones. Because I will admit it, I do get angry and frustrated at times so that men are always expected to make the first move and initiate the relationship. Well, I can give you several things on that, and I hopefully this will explain it for you. The first thing is think of men as, on average, men are the gatekeepers to relationships and women are the gatekeepers to sex. So we initiate the relationship, which in the beginning moves towards intimacy and sex. And later, as it goes deeper, moves towards a deep relationship, you become the gatekeeper. It kind of switches. So it's not just you have to do all the work. There's a lot of work done by the women too. That's number one. The next thing is, why are men expected to approach? Well, that has a lot to do, not with women, that has to do with the way we developed in more primitive times. Think of a village or a primitive place. Let's say a primitive village a long time ago. I don't know, 1,000 years, 500 years, let's say. You had men and women basically in the village. What were the roles of the masculine men and the feminine women? And they really had more distinct roles back then. The women, or we'll go with the women first. The women took care of the babies. They nurtured, they healed, they gathered, they prepared food. They took care of a lot of the day-to-day of the village, while the men did the more extreme stuff. So the women did the subtle, where all the subtle emotions would be felt. For example, a woman in a village like that could tell the subtlest difference between the cries of her baby or another baby. She might be able to tell the subtlest difference in the mood of somebody else in the village, so she can adjust and help her partner adjust and deal with something that might be coming up. Okay, that's number one. Number two, look at the men now. What did the men do? The men went out and they hunted, they built, they fought, they would build the structures, they would do the more dangerous tasks, the more intensive tasks, i.e. stepping and attention all the time. The women did the more emotional tasks, the ones that took more emotional subtleties. And you see this today. Women are much more aware of subtle communication naturally, without men developing it, if men don't develop it in themselves. And men are much more attuned, on average, to dealing with physical tasks and physical challenges. You see it in little boys and little girls. Little girls playing with dolls and playing with communication of the dolls and the subtleties of that. And you see it in the movies and TV shows that young girls watch when they grow up. And then you look at boys and young teen boys, where the boys are more into combat and fighting and tearing apart bugs and jumping on things. And then you see the movies and TV shows they like tend to lead in that direction more. More of the action type movies or sports, things like this. You might be asking, why is Brian bringing all this up? When you see all this, how does this go back to approaching? Men are the thing that women are looking for in men. If we go back to this primitive tribe, and this is going to come all back to approaching, is they're looking for a man that can handle the tension, that can handle the shit when the shit hits the fan. You see, in that primitive time, if she picked a guy that was terrible with tension, her chances of survival and her baby's chances of survival were terrible. We're not going to work. If he couldn't go out and hunt, if he couldn't go out and build, if he couldn't go out and step into tension, if he was scared and was always hiding behind her skirt or too nervous, then that was dangerous for her. And the same with a man. A man would pick a woman that could handle the more subtlety she could handle, the more subtlety she could dance in. The more valuable he was in his relationship to her, because she could help to take him deeper into his own emotional self so that he can become more powerful as a man. So when it comes to approaching, really what's happening is a little bit of that. The men are stepping into tension just like those primitive men did, and they have stepping into the tension of the woman. They're walking up, and she's using her subtleties to feel him, decide if this is the type of man I want or not. Why is this important? Because if he's afraid of her and he can't handle, let's say, her testing, her pushing, her playing, her rejecting, all these little things she's going to do when he walks up, then he can't handle life. And if he's going to offering his masculine to her, which is all this attention skills, but he can't even handle her, then he's not giving her his masculine gift, and she doesn't need him. Because what she's looking for is somebody that's going to offer his masculine gift. And the same thing applies the other way. If she's not willing to dance in the feminine with you, which is all the little things she does, to the way she moves and uses her subtle communication, and the way she carries her body in her feminine, and the way she communicates these subtle energies, and you can feel it. I watch guys feel it all the time, whether they're conscious of it or not. Then you'll lose interest. Have you ever gone on a date with a girl that was really masculine? How long did that last? It doesn't, usually, unless you're a naturally feminine guy, which is a small percentage of your men. They're out there. It's just a smaller percentage. So look at it this way. That you stepping in attention is you stepping into your masculine. Now, a lot of men are in resistance to that today because a lot of men are half masculine, half feminine today. We're kind of in a hybrided society because of a lot of stuff that's happened. And so men are having to redevelop a relationship with their own masculine, and they don't want to do it. Why? Because society is a little bit criminalized the masculine. So they feel bad. They're like, I'm not supposed to be this way. I'm not supposed to step into my masculine. But remember, there's a good side to masculine, the powerful, healing, nurturing, building, making things happen side, and a bad side. There's also a good side to feminine and a bad side. So don't look at it, or let's say, not say good and bad, let's say there's a conscious growing side to the masculine and a less conscious, and then a conscious growing side of the feminine and a less conscious. So don't look at it that way. Look at it as you getting to step into your power as a being, as a man, as a human. And that's what you're developing when you're learning to approach, is how to really be free of outcome, free of what people think of you, more powerful as a man, which makes you more attractive not only to women, but to job interviews, to life. It makes you freer. It makes you feel more alive when you do it. In the beginning, it seems scary, but later, it's the greatest gift a woman can give you. So welcome it, okay? Hopefully that answers your question there, buddy.